What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2020 CR-V. So it's been a little bit refreshed here. So it still is the same Honda CR-V as it was from 2017. But now they've done a few little tweaks. Most of the stuff is on the outside with new bumpers, things like that. But on the inside here, I still think this is one of the nicer interiors in this segment. It's not the nicest. I think the Mazda CX-5 has a little bit more soft touch materials, a little higher quality feeling, but it also feels a little more cramped, I think, in the CX-5 versus this. But otherwise, I think this is kind of towards the top of the class, and has a little bit of a nicer interior than I think the RAV4 does in many places. Certainly nicer than the Rogue and all the other older competition these days. But anyway, first thing, sitting down in these seats, you have these nice soft leather seats, and so this is something you get on the Touring trim, and also on the EXL trim you get leather. The lower trims you have cloth, and they're heated here, and so it would be nice if you had a cooling option, but most of the competition doesn't, so not a huge deal, but nice to have the leather. And I actually kind of like the design of it here too, with the little lines on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are very comfy for sure. And my side has the power adjustments as well, so that's nice. Yeah, for sure.
So that is a nice thing. This is, I think, something you get on the top Touring trim, maybe on a lower trim, but obviously the base ones you will have manual seats, but still great seats nonetheless. I really like the bolstering and everything. They feel really good. Steering wheel is also really great here in the CR-V. I think actually the leather feels a little higher quality than it does in the RAV4, which also has a leather wrap wheel, but feels a little cheaper. The Nissan Rogue steering wheel feels a little cheaper. I think Mazda is the only one that probably has a steering wheel that feels this nice as far as just feeling high quality. The button setup is a little weird here on the CR-Vs. You have the cruise control stuff on the right, and the left-hand side here, you have like this volume rocker, but then to actually change the channel tracks, you're going to use this D-pad thing here, and so kind of a little bit counterintuitive to what you see on most other vehicles these days, which are a little simpler. Also, in the standard CR-V, the only way you get this heated steering wheel is in this top Touring trim, which is kind of unfortunate that they reserve the heated steering wheel only for the maxed out trim. Like this one's almost $36,000 fully loaded, and other competitors offer heated steering wheel in lower trims. And interesting note is if you go for the hybrid version of the CR-V, which is new for 2020, that you can get a heated steering wheel with the EXL trim as well as the Touring. So if you want to save a little bit of money both in gas costs and in MSRP, go for the hybrid EXL. You still get the heated steering wheel, still get the leather seats and everything, and you save yourself a couple $1,000s there. Next though are the gauges here in the CR-V, which are a really good set of gauges. I like how it's so clear, and this is something that some of the others don't do quite as well. So you have just a nice large tach at the top, huge digital speed readout, just very simple, a nice simple fuel economy reading there. You can also scroll through. It'll show you your audio, your navigation, whatever you want in there, and so it's really customizable, and you can even show your torque split for the all-wheel drive system in there. Really well done. You have your non-digital gauges there on the right and the left for fuel and temp, which are a little odd, and in the hybrid version those are actually digital screens as well, to show you battery charge and things like that. So a little bit of a cooler gauge setup in the hybrids, but this is still really fantastic here. Coming over to the center of the dashboard, this is something that is one of the sore spots of the CR-V, is this touchscreen. So this is a 7-inch touchscreen that Honda has here in the CR-Vs. It's the same one you get in the Civic. For one, it's just 7 inches, so it's smaller than basically all the competition, even in most of their base trims. And then you also have capacitive touch buttons here on the side, which aren't super easy to find when you're driving. You only have a volume knob, no tune knob, and also every time we turned on this vehicle, it constantly wanted to go to the last blank screen. I don't know why. I tried to find a way in settings to fix that, but so every time I got in this vehicle, I'd hit this arrow, which by the way isn't super responsive, kind of slow, and then go to the home screen. You couldn't hit the home button to just jump to that. You had to hit the arrow 5 times in order to get to this home screen. So a little weird quirk. I'm sure that's just a glitch or something. I'm not sure what's up with that, but it does have smartphone integration, so you have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it is fairly easy to go through all the radio stations and things like that once you have all your presets saved. But again, you're just using touchscreen controls instead of having a tune knob, and it is laggy and slow to change radio stations at times, and even just hopping around to different things like the map and stuff, there's a couple seconds delay. It's not quite as fast as some of the best infotainment systems out there. So I'm not in love with this, and it's also, it kind of drives me crazy considering Honda has a better system. The Accord, the Pilot, they all have a fantastic system that has customizable tiles, it's way faster, has volume and tune knobs, and it's bigger, it's just better in every way. And I don't know, I guess there's some supplier issue that forces Honda to use this old screen in the CR-V, but it really holds the CR-V back, because I think that's the one thing that you touch and use every single day, and it kind of is, you know, just not as user-friendly as some of the better options. I think the RAV4, their touchscreen's way easier. Mazda's also quirky with their controller they force you to use. But yeah, it's not the worst, but it certainly is not the best screen in this segment either.
Yeah, especially with it being a touchscreen, I feel like it should be a little bit more responsive if there's not going to be any kind of knobs or buttons to press. I just think it's like takes way longer to get to certain things.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that this screen is from about 2016 or 2017 and is about the same as it was back then. So a little bit dated there. Coming down, you have your climate controls here, which are very straightforward, easy to use. Your heated seat controls underneath that. You also have this shifter, which is something you get only in the gas versions of the CR-V. The hybrid versions, you have buttons here instead. And I think the button setup in the hybrid really cleans this area up, because this is kind of cheap and loose feeling and kind of just sticks out of the dashboard and just doesn't seem... I feel like you'd just save some space by just having buttons here, and so I prefer that about the hybrid version. If you're sensing a theme here, I would definitely recommend getting a hybrid version. It's only $1,200 more for an all-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive, and it is just, for $1,200 you get more power, you get way better fuel economy, and a slightly nicer interior, so that would be my pick. But if you must have a standard CR-V and you hate hybrids for whatever reason, this shifter is still fine. You know, it's just, with having the drive and then you have sport and then low, sometimes trying to find drive quickly is a little tricky. You also have no sport mode. If you're an enthusiast like I am, the hybrid version has a sport mode. Another interesting thing to note there.
And down below the shifter here, there is a wireless charging pad that is pretty nice and it works very well. However, when we were going around curves and stuff, my phone was sliding, causing it to stop charging. So like, if you wanted to charge your phone, it's probably better to plug it in. This does not have a very good grip to it, I don't think.
Yeah, and a lot of the other competitors that have wireless charging pads, it does have a rubberized surface here, or it has a little notch or something to hold it in place, or both. This has neither, and so as far as execution goes for wireless charging pads, I think this isn't as good as all the others, unless, again, you have, like you said, a phone case that maybe is rubbery or something to hold it. But if you're just, you know, having a smooth phone case or no phone case like I have, this is not going to hold your phone. Also, another thing about this wireless charging pad is that it's only on this top touring trim. So thankfully, if you go for an EXL or a lower trim or something, you don't have this, and so that's something I certainly wouldn't miss. And so if that doesn't sound great to you, don't worry about it unless you have this top touring trim. And it's also, you know, it still doesn't charge that fast. Most of these wireless charging pads are pretty slow, in cars at least. And so yeah, you have two USB jacks right by that area, and so one will actually, you know, work for audio, and then you also have one that's just charging, and it's a little bit of a slower speed. You can see there 1 amp versus 1.5. Other storage spaces though, you have two cup holders right behind that. There's also bottle holders in the doors, as well as additional pockets here in the door, so really nice large space there. You also have this new center console. So this is all redesigned here for the 2020s, one of the biggest changes here. And so you have this nice soft armrest right at the top that feels really great to rest your elbow on, nice and plush. And you open that up, and then you'll see that it actually is just all one big open thing. And so you have various different configurations. You can have it like I have here, or you can slide this forward and have two levels of storage, or you can lift this up, and then you have everything wide open there, and it is just massive. This is way more storage space than you get in all the competitors. So Honda knocked it out of the park with this. Honda always usually has the most interior storage, I've noticed. The Civic is best in its class. This is best in its class. Pilot is best in its class. They just do such a good job, and so this enhances what was already really good in the standard CR-Vs here for 2020. This is a really nice change. You also have a power outlet here.
And also in this touring trim, there is this fake wood trim here. It does look nice, but you can definitely tell that it's fake. It has this kind of like sheen to it that they're trying to make look super fancy, which if you don't care about wood, it's totally fine, and it does look nice, but it is fake. It's not real.
It does dress it up a little bit. It's a little nicer than just having plastic or piano black, trim or something like that. I'm not in love with the color of it. It's a little too like golden and it almost looks like tiger stripes or something to me. Like it just doesn't look like real wood.
So if you are watching Tiger King, make sure you maybe check this trim out. I mean, come on.
Maybe this is a Tiger King edition. We just didn't know.
Oh yeah, probably.
Should have checked the window sticker. Nope, no Tiger King, but that's the effect that I get here with this. Another feature here of the top touring trim is that you have this 9-speaker, 330-watt stereo system, and so it's not branded. It's it's just a Honda system, but it sounds really good actually. I was listening to a decent amount with Bluetooth audio, and I was impressed with the clarity. It was pretty powerful, and that is something again only reserved, unfortunately, for this top touring trim. Everyone else is stuck with a 180-watt 8-speaker system, so you're only losing 1 speaker there on that lower system. But you do go down a good amount of wattage. That doesn't always make a huge difference, so I'd have to try out that lower system to see how much of a downgrade that is. But if you want the best sound system possible, you're gonna have to go up to this touring trim still. Backseat space in the CR-V is really good. So the first thing that I notice is the door opens like 90 degrees. Like it is the most wide opening back seat I think I've ever seen. And that, probably isn't really that important, but I think if you actually have like a baby carrier or something you need to, get in there and you need a really wide opening, I think this might be one of the best I've encountered as far as back seats and getting into it and how easy it is. Anyway, getting into the back seat here, it is so spacious and roomy. I mean, I'm 5'9", and me sitting behind myself, I easily have at least 4 or 5 inches of legroom to spare back there. Plenty of headroom as well, of course, this being an SUV, but they're just as comfortable as the front seats here, and you also have air vents back there here in this touring trim, as well as 2 USB jacks back there. There's a fold down center armrest with 2 cup holders built into it. There's also nice pockets in the doors there, and so it's a really spacious back seat. I think it actually beats most of the competition, really towards the top of the class, I think. Trunk space is also very good here in the CR-V. So now this one, the touring trim has a way that you can kick underneath the bumper to open it up. It's not the most reliable setup, so I wouldn't go for the touring trim just for that if you're interested in that, but if you happen to want a touring trim for other features, that is a nice thing that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But anyway, once you open that up, you'll see that it's a pretty large space, a very tall space, of course, and beneath the floor there, all you see is a spare tire. There isn't any kind of additional cubbies or anything like some of the competitors offer, but that's not super common. So overall, a really good amount of space back there, and it is also, of course, a power close tailgate as well here in the top trim, and I think the EXL is also power. It just doesn't have the kick feature like you get here in the touring.
Also on the touring here, there is this power moonroof. It is really nice if you do like moonroofs. However, they do not offer anything like a panoramic moonroof, which I know that we both really like. But if you do like it, here it is.
Yeah, and I think, this is fairly par for the course. I think maybe Toyota in its top trim offers a panoramic roof, but really most of them only have something about this size. And it is nice that is one thing that thankfully is not reserved only for the touring trim. You can get that on some of the lower trims as well. I think even EX trim introduces a moonroof, so you can still get that on lower trims if you like it. But yeah, so that's about all our thoughts here on the interior of the CR-V. Overall, I think it is, it has some of the best use of space. It's one of the more premium and plusher interiors, and it's nice to have the touchscreen since that's something the Mazda doesn't have unless you're parked. Currently the CX-5 still lets you use the touchscreen when you're parked, otherwise you got to use a controller. So I think I like the ease of use of this, even though this isn't perfect, again, with the infotainment system and stuff like that, but it is pretty close to being towards the top of the pack, I think, as far as interiors in this segment go.
Yeah, it's still a great place to be, for sure.
Yeah, and I think for most families, this will be really great. Plenty of space, nice enough, good stereo, all that stuff. So, yeah, but anyway, that's all our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts on the CR-V interior in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.